cannot stop until the poor are lifted, until the sick are healed, until humanity is respected, until our children are educated and protected, until civil rights and union rights are never neglected, until love overcomes hate. Nothing would be more tragic than for us to turn around at this point. This is no time to be at ease in Zion. We must go forward together, black and white and brown and Asian and native and young and old and north and south and east and west and gay and straight. We are America, and we must declare we ain't going nowhere but forward.
Hi, this is VOW, Voices of Wisdom, the show that might not be for everybody, but everybody needs to watch this show. The title of the show today is Civil Rights, Moral, Not Political. And I have my esteemed guest, Dr. Georgette Greer-Key. How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you for having me.
Well, let's talk. As you know, we were born here, so why was there a need for a separate set of civil rights?
Yeah.
You know, why was that?
Well, it goes back to me, when we think about the modern day civil rights movement, people always go directly to the 1960s. But immediately after the Civil War, we get the Civil Rights Act of 1866, which declares that anyone born on U.S. Soil, regardless to previous status, involuntary servitude, you would be a United citizen and able to afford the rights thereof.
Are you saying this is back in 1866?
1866.
That's the beginning of it? Okay, continue.
Yep, so, basically it declared that persons in the United States would be citizens, except for the Native Americans. Let's not forget that part. Yeah. So that was there and to protect us, right? But we know what happened between, 1866 and 1966, right? That's 100 years of no progress. And that's why we need this second set of the Civil Rights Act to continue, because everything that was supposed to be happening for us right after 1866 got turned right around, right? After Lincoln is assassinated, we know, Andrew gets in and changes everything that he wanted to do. And I know, briefly, we could touch on Reconstruction, because right after that is where we see the country trying to come back together, create what America could be. And that's the first time that we do see, African-American men that are now serving in Congress. There seems to be some progress. And, some people don't like progress. And then right after that, you go into presidential Reconstruction, which is another phase of Reconstruction where they turn back all of the gains we had, they were turned back. And some of them were not legislated, so that's what happened between those, what was not legislated is the turnbacks, right? We got this law, but nothing has happened. We still don't have our rights. So from that 1866 to 1966, it was an ongoing struggle and a constant battle to regain what we actually got from, Reconstruction period. Yeah.
So it kind of sounds familiar.
It does.
Shall we go there? And, I have to acknowledge that was Reverend Barber that spoke to us about all the things that we need to hear today.
Yeah.
Today.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the curve cut concept.
Well, you know what, and I think it's important to talk about the curve cut, because today there is a lot of pushback on civil rights, right? There's a lot of pushback and on the solutions to civil rights, and what the solutions to civil rights were, the fact that the civil rights were not enacted, not obeyed. We had to come up with solutions, and sometimes those solutions look like affirmative action, it looked like the critical race theory, and it looked like DEI. Now, these three things that have been received a backlash, what they were actually solutions to the isms, the racism, the sexisms, all of these isms that were created and not obeyed, that were supposed to be enacted during the Civil Rights Act.
Right.
And so that backlash that we are feeling is really, you got to go back to James Baldwin, and he said, we got to call a thing what it is.
Absolutely.
Right? Let's not
He's my
sugarcoat
fave.
it.
He's my fave.
Let's not put the frosting on it. And we see that happening. So every time we hear these buzzwords, even woke was another one, all of these different words. And what's so sad about it is that those were solutions to a problem that was caused not by the people, and I don't even want to say the people who benefited from the programs. That is a backlash, because we can get into the statistics. We already know, look it up. White women benefited more from affirmative action.
And they say it with DEI as well.
The DEI as well. We're like number 6 on the list. The Department of Labor came out with a study, and it shows that the first person is, the who's in the number 1 spot to benefit from DEI is white women and white men.
And I think it's important, and I'm going to look at the camera today. It's important, the things that we're sharing with you, we're not making this stuff up. So I ask you to do your own research and do your own statistical evaluations of what we're saying. Anyway, continue, please.
Yeah. Well, just, going back of those numbers, we're number 6. So I think the order, and the Department of Labor put this out. White women and white men, number 1. Number 2, Asians, right? Number 3, Native Americans. And then number 4, we have Latino, and I'm missing someone just before us. Right. And then it said number 6 was African Americans, right? So there's all this talk. And then the other thing, civil rights is important because people were purposefully stopped from living their lives. They were stopped from political, social, and economic life.
Absolutely.
And see, when we define the word liberty, I always talk about that word liberty. Liberty just doesn't mean freedom, and the word liberty has changed throughout our history. Liberty means social, it means economic. It doesn't mean freedom. And people forget that what you do for one is going to be great for all. And so when you look at that curb cut effect, it's in essence asserts that an investment in one group can cascade out and up and be substantial investment in the broader well-being of a nation, one whose policies and practices create an equitable economy, a healthy community of opportunities, and a just society. And so when people think about that curb cut, it was done for a group that needed to be able to cross the street and have access in the wheelchairs. Now you see the elder women who are shopping for food, and they have those shopping carts and they push it down. You see the mothers who have the strollers, they use it and push them down. And probably shouldn't be doing this, but the skateboarders also use those curb cut. So that's the idea. What you do for one group, it's going to have effects for everyone.
Absolutely.
And a lot of those programs we just talked about, they did something for everyone, and we were the least to benefit. And that goes on to when we think about a SNAP, which we, back in the day we called it what we call welfare, or what they call food stamps. Look that up. It wasn't. It's not always us.
And all is trying to be cut.
Yeah, but guess what? I heard, that there was an executive order to stop, all funding of programs. And how quickly was that rescinded?
That's true.
And it was rescinded because we're not the only beneficiaries and not the primary beneficiaries of all those programs.
Absolutely.
So that was rescinded.
Absolutely.
So when we think about civil rights, we have to go back to the beginning and why we even have it. And so that's the reason, because there wasn't equitable and just means for people to access political power, to access economic power. And so that's where it lays, because there was an injustice done.
Absolutely.
There was 400 years of certain people being able to gain 7 generations of wealth. And so if we're at the starting line for the race, and we say, get ready, get set, go. And you have a 400-year start.
Absolutely.
500-year start.
Absolutely.
We can't compete.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Dr. Martin Luther King's dream deferred.
Oh, man. His dream was deferred. And let me just say something about Dr. Martin Luther King, too, because, during that time, and no people's a monolith, but what I will say about the movement and even the nonviolent movement, the Black Power movement, there were they had a goal to get to the same end.
Absolutely.
And that
absolutely.
end was what we're talking about now is economics. People
Absolutely.
forget that Martin, challenged people on economy. He challenged people on the Vietnam War. He challenged the fact that we have a capitalistic society that is
Absolutely.
taking the front seat and making themselves, business and corporations are making themselves a person. So when we think about all of these things about his dream deferred, what did he actually achieve? I think I wrote down here in some of my notes. What did he fulfill? Okay, yes, we had nonviolent protest movement, by the way, which is copied around the world. As you
Absolutely.
know, they
Absolutely.
use the tools of sit-ins, boycotts, marches, all of those things, the tools that we created. We had more solidarity. That was one of the things that he wanted to create when he brought together the Appalachian people to come down with the poor people when he went to Chicago. We had a sense of solidarity. Today, I don't know how much that solidarity exists.
I think the Mormons were also
Yes.
in support of
Yep.
Yeah.
All of the clerics, he had Protestant, he had Jewish, he brought people together. And I don't want to say we don't have some sense of solidarity. I think that there were some people who were smoke and mirrors. We already know all skin folk and kinfolk.
This is true.
So we have a little players here. So I think we need to work on building the coalition and solidarity again. And then, that's only three. And service, bringing service. And even we know we just celebrated this holiday, service to one another. We do a day of service. It's not a day for you to go buy a new car
Right.
or go to the mall and get a sale. We got to render service because
Right.
what did someone say? There's a quote that says, service is the rent we pay to live on earth.
Say that again.
Service is the rent we pay to live on earth. And so that's one of the things. We got to give service to one another. We are our brothers and sisters keepers. And then the unfulfilled the list is really long. Unfulfilled is voter enfranchisement, economic equality, police brutality, infant mortality rates, class gap, education gap, right? And we got affirmative action, class elevator, the switch is off. Mass incarceration. 1 in 3 black men will go to prison, while 1 in 17 white men will go to prison. 20% of black people will be killed by police. 25% of black people will be killed by police.
Wow.
So these are some of the unfulfilled dreams that he has. And if you want to go more historic, let's just go back to the Niagara Manifesto, which is the precursor to the NAACP. And everything that is in that manifesto for the NAACP, the Niagara Manifesto speaks about the same things that we are speaking about today. Access to political capital, being able to vote. Access to economic and economy, access to decent and fair housing, access to affordable, jobs that we can make a living for ourselves, and of course, medical. And that is in the Niagara, and much more, but those are the same things that in the Niagara Manifesto that was asked for. And then now we have the modern day civil rights movement. This is the same thing that King and all of those others, and Fannie Lou Hamer, and Shuttleworths, and A. Philip Randall, everything that they were asking for. Every generation was still asking for the same thing. So going back to 1866, how far have we come? And the little gains that we have been turned back.
Absolutely, absolutely. I couldn't help but think about my experience I had, that dramatic experience I had watching TV during the civil rights movement. And I'm going to share it really briefly. I was actually sitting on the floor, eating my cereal, watching, I heard Bugs Bunny or whatever, and then I look up, and you know how they flash the TV, like a flash news, and what I saw, at the time, I think I might have been 7 or 8 years old, and at the time, I look up, and what I see was police officers with dogs and water hoses. And they were spraying water hoses on these people that looked like me. I'm 7 or 8 years old now. And I see these people that look like me being thrown against walls and across the streets, and dogs being attacked. And then police with these batons hitting people that look like me. And it was so dramatic for me because, and I couldn't understand it because the police had just came to our classroom saying they're here to protect us. And I never forget how frightened I was, thinking that, oh my God, those people look like my mother, my father, and my sisters. Are they going to do that to me? I never forget how frightened I was. And but I think about even now, as me as an advocate and an activist, it must have done something in me to want to fight with that. And I think about even the boycotting that they did, and how it was so effective though, and how it sounds like something that might be kind of happening today.
Yeah, I think they had some different tools. I don't want to say they had some different tools. I did an exercise where, we talk about the freedom riders, right? And we just, talk about them like kind of blasé. But just the understanding that these people were young, they were teenagers, they were
Right.
college students.
Right.
Going against what their parents wanted them to do. Actually had to write a will.
You know, when that was mentioned, when we talked about that, it's like, if you really think about that, they were ready to die.
Not even ready, and possibly,
Expecting maybe that would happen.
yeah. Some did die during Freedom Summer, but the thing about it is, they were ready to sacrifice. Not only were they ready to sacrifice, going back to the service we should pay, they were ready to sacrifice, they were disciplined, right? And they were, as a matter of fact, vision focused. And so we need that today. We need that today when you see companies turning back, right? Turning back. You needed us when we were coming out of a recession downfall. You needed us because if you look at our dollar per capita, what we spend a lot of money. But we do have economic power. Anything that has happened good for us, it's never been for the benefit, for benevolence. It's been because it was an economic, even the ending of slavery was an economic choice.
Absolutely.
And, someone says, Lincoln saved, no, we saved them because they were losing the war and they needed us to come in and help. But the same thing in terms of ending that war, they needed to because it was economic. We bankrupt the South. And so we've been bankrupting people for a long time. So just even our mere sheer freedom that we're sitting here and we can do our own will, we bankrupt them with our existence. So I think that we have to continue down that to be disciplined, right? Organized, right? Because they were ready to die. You ask, students and young people, when you show them all that happened to those people, being bit on the head with dogs and hoses and hit, kicked, and they wore skirts back then, they wasn't even wearing pants. These girls were in skirts on knees, just think about everything that happened. And you show them, and not even just the brutality that they were going to experience, the fact that they knew they were going to die, and you ask them, what are you willing to do?
Absolutely.
And a lot of people are honest. They say, I don't know if I'm willing to do that.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And so when we think about the civil rights, it was hard fought. You have John Lewis still fighting for voter, and he sat in the last year of his life, had a sit-in in the floor. So it's been a long fight, what's the saying? All's my life I had to fight.
Yes.
We still got to say, all's my life we got to fight every little inch that we get. It's just an inch. We're not that, we're only 13%. How much you think DEI is helping when we still have these poverty rates and the 1% is steadily rising and not paying the tax, and the middle class that was there is being wiped out? So when we think about civil rights, going back to the opening, it's not just for us. We didn't just benefit.
Absolutely.
We could run down the list of who benefited.
Absolutely.
So, Dr. King said an injustice here is an injustice everywhere.
Absolutely.
And that's what we already seeing happening. What is this, day 10? I don't know what day we in. But, that's what we seeing happening. Yeah.
We had the pleasure of seeing a wonderful play last night called The Underground at the Stony Brook University. And it was just something to watch. Yeah, it's a sigh, right?
Yeah.
It was something to watch,
Definitely a
to
sigh.
see them talking about the Underground Railroad and how they were treated, and even how, just seeing how we were treated again, even though we knew it and we know it, but actually seeing the play and seeing it, reminding us of how we were tortured, reminding us how far we have come. And I question mark that. How far have we come?
You know what? We used to, the saying used to be, we've come we've come far, but no one is saying it used to be something like we've come a long way, but we have farther to go. And now it's changing before our eyes. Like, really? How far have we come when you having, precedent lawsuits, in law cases that have been won and became a part of the Constitution being turned back? When we start to talk about birthright citizenship, and it says it in the Civil Rights Act of 1866, if they did away with that, enslaved people would have a hard time, because we're the records for us to go back to see who our ancestors are to say they were here and we belong here.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, so when you think about today, and again, it's under attack. It's under attack, it's misinformation. We got to fight. Like Dr. Reverend Barber said, we got to continue to fight, and it's not just for ourselves, it's for people who don't even understand the political system.
Absolutely.
The poor people, we need to keep fighting for them. We need to teach them their rights so that they know, because rights are being trampled on every day. And so I think that the civil rights movement has, we have to have a more of a concentrated effort to continue to fight, because we're losing. We're turning back the clock to night. I got to tell you, one day I turned on the TV, I said, wow, I really feel like I'm in 1954. I was nowhere born in 1954, but I really feel like I'm in 1954 with some of the things that we're hearing on the TV. So now we have to be in a mode of trying to maintain.
Absolutely.
And move forward, because
and do what we're doing today.
You think the progression is, okay, we conquered that, like the checkbox. Okay, we did this, we did this, we did this. We still have ground to cover, so let's look at these things. And then when we look at these things, they're cutting them. Everything is being cut,
So we have like 5 minutes, so I want to kind of leave on a higher note and talk about how important and instrumental the Black church was and is now.
Oh, yeah.
And also, we will own, that's a place we own. We own the church, so we were able to go there and gather. And also the music.
Oh, yeah.
I think about that one song, Marvin Gaye,
Oh, yeah.
What's Going On?
What's going on?
What's going on? I mean,
What's
right
going
now,
on?
what's going on? And even James Brown's, the pride of saying, I'm Black and I'm proud. I feel like we're coming back to those times.
The music, we go to the church, we're with the church, but the music was important because all of those people who were protesting, sitting in, people said, why were they singing? They were singing because they were building themselves up, because that was the only tool that they had. They knew they were about to be brutalized and even killed. So they got to, ain't gonna let nobody turn me around, turn me around, turn me around, ain't let nobody turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, I keep on talking, and keep on.
Yes, absolutely.
You had to have that, because they
Absolutely.
were walking into being clubbed, right? And then giving ourselves hope. It was a bad day today, but we shall overcome.
That's something about that song, though. We shall overcome.
Yeah, not we didn't. We shall.
And we shall. It has to be.
We have to
that's
keep
the positive.
going.
Yes.
So
yes,
that was really important. And like you said, the only thing we did have was the church, and that's where it started. Because you said the name of the show is the Civil Rights, right?
moral, not political.
Okay, this is a moral issue.
Absolutely.
This is a moral issue.
The bottom line.
Moral issue.
The bottom line.
When you think about Jupiter Hammond, you think about Frederick Douglass, you think about all of these men who questioned the Christianity that some people say they serve, but may not be serving that same Christianity, because you're not supposed to do that unto others. What they say, don't do unto others as you have to do it to yourself.
Absolutely.
So they question, they question that Christianity and that moral sense of what is your responsibility to another human, right? So when we think about civil rights, it's civil rights and human rights.
Absolutely.
Because we are humans and we should be treated justly.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I cannot leave out Bob Marley.
Oh, yes.
Because, the reggae music and the songs that he sung, there's one song that really was piercing to us, and we hear it all often now. It talks about, it's called Buffalo Soldier.
Oh, yeah.
He said, there was a Buffalo Soldier in the heart of America. stolen from Africa, brought to America, fighting on arrival, fighting for survival. I mean, some heavy words, heavy words, heavy words.
And don't
heavy words.
forget, get up, stand up, don't give up the fight.
Exactly,
I mean,
exactly.
this is stuff that you need. And one thing about the music, which is so great, some of this music today, you'd be like, what in the world is,
Absolutely.
what are they talking about? Materialistic thing and this, they shaking it. No, even the artists during the civil rights movement were aligned to the principles of the civil
Absolutely,
rights. The
absolutely.
business owners aligned, black business aligned to the civil rights
Absolutely,
movement. And that's what I said, when we talk about that discipline, we have to go back to that discipline that everybody, what is, I had to saying here written down, that all the tides, let me see what my little statement was, but basically that all boats, here it is, a rising tide lifts all boats is a well-known phrase that suggests economic growth benefits for everyone. It is often used by politicians and economists to promote the idea of government economy policy, and it should focus on a broader economic efforts and policy. And so that's what all that focus, and leaving it at the church. Where could they do this organizing, and who were the leaders to make it happen, to turn that discipline into action? So the black church still has a place. The black church is still open.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Open.
yeah.
And I think the black church now needs to definitely focus.
Oh, they focusing. I was on a
I know, I know,
clergy
I
call, and I
know.
said, woo-hoo-hoo.
I know.
Yeah, they have to, because the people that are under attack are coming to them for advice.
Absolutely.
Who are they gonna run to?
Absolutely.
They coming to them. Am I gonna be taken from my home? What's gonna happen to my children?
Yes.
And so it's the moral sense has to come back.
Absolutely.
We have walked away from that. There's separation in church and state, but you still can have some morals and manners.
Absolutely.
And that's where we need to go back to. It's a moral issue.
And the last song I want to leave,
Okay.
I'm not going to sing it, but I'm just going to
Well, I
sing
want to hear. We may have to sing
One
it.
love,
One love.
one heart. Let's get together and feel all right. This has been VOW, Voices of Wisdom. Have a blessed day.